Right. Okay, are we good, Rick? All right. We'll call the meeting to order. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment and silence any devices that might interrupt the meeting. I'm going to do the same thing myself. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster Incorporated on February 5th, 1819. We are gathered here at historic City Hall, originally state built in 1842 by Colonel John K. Longwell. The city acquired this building in 1939 and has since been the venue where the Mayor and Council conducts the city business. Now we'll begin as we do every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Flag is the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. One interesting fact about Westminster is the Sherwood Distilling Company began operations here during World War II era, housed in a striking red brick plant along Railroad Avenue with large glass windowed mesh drying sheds. After producing Sherwood Straight Rye, its license expired around 1970, ending decades of distilling. However, the tall brick smokestack remains a prominent local landmark. Today, the former barrel house is the location of Paradiso Restaurant, and the main building serves as Carroll County Citizen Service Center, ensuring Sherwood's legacy endures in Westminster's architecture and community life. Moving on, the council typically convenes on the second and fourth Monday of each month. Please note that these meetings are open to the public here at City Hall and are also streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. We extend our gratitude to the Community Media Center for its partnership in ensuring public access to these meetings. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online at the city's website. Hard copies of the agenda are available here in the front of the room for those in attendance. First order of business is a closed session statement. A statement for the record. A closed meeting was held on Monday, April 20th, 2026, in accordance with the general provisions of Article Section 3-306C2 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and without objection, it is noted that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect the Common Council met in a closed meeting on Monday, October 20th, 2026 at 5:50 p.m. pursuant to General Article Section 3-305B7 to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice, and B8 to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. Note for the record, Councilmember Huff was not present during the vote that was taken for the closed meeting. And note for the record, Councilmember Bayer left the meeting at 6:15 p.m. The city administrator, Impulse, and the city attorney, Whitworth, were both in attendance. The Common Council took no official action during the meeting. The closed session was adjourned at 6:35 p.m. Next order of business will be a public hearing on Annexation Resolution 2603 in the city of Westminster. Public hearings are conducted by the mayor. So, Madam Mayor, the gavel is yours.
Thank you very much. Call this public hearing to order at 7:03 p.m. This is resolution number 26-03, Annexation 72, a resolution enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property containing plus or minus 2.9443 acres, continuous and adjoining to the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of real property located at 10 Sullivan Road, Westminster, Maryland 21157, also identified as tax account number 07-048408, map 0039, grid 0013, parcel 0752, and comprising of plus or minus 1.4983 acres and plus or minus 1.446 acres of right-of-way containing a portion of College View Boulevard, Maryland Route 140, Maryland Route 97, belonging to the Maryland Department of Transportation, State Highway Administration. Would anyone like to make any comments during a public hearing? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Or should Mr. Depot, do you want to give any, sorry, Mr. Depot, do you want to give any information first?
If I could. So quickly, Padme LLC, the petitioner is requesting that the Mayor and Common Council annex property containing approximately 2.9443 acres into corporate limits as described by the mayor. The Mayor and Common Council may enlarge the boundaries of the city of Westminster as provided in the annotated code of Maryland. The property is located outside city limits, but inside the water and sewer service area and is eligible for annexation under state law. The property is currently being served by public water and sewer. The annexation area is Zone C2 Commercial Medium Intensity District under the zoning laws of Carroll County. The petitioner is requesting the property be zoned B Business Zone under the city zoning ordinance. Development in the B Business Zone is substantially similar to development in the C2 Commercial Medium Intensity District. The petitioner has constructed a Sheetz convenience store and gas pumps at the property. This was all part of an annexation agreement between the petitioner and the city, whereby development was able to move forward, and the petitioner was then supposed to annex the property, hence tonight's meeting. On February the 9th, 2026, Annexation Resolution 2603 or Annexation 72 was introduced to the Mayor and Common Council, allowing the process to begin. On February 10, 2026, Annexation Resolution 2603, along with an annexation plan pursuant to state code, was emailed to Carroll County and the Maryland Department of Planning. On April 16, 2026, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Annexation Resolution 2603, including the annexation plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission forwarded Annexation Resolution 2603 to the City of Westminster Mayor and Common Council with a favorable recommendation. The annexation petition submitted by the petitioners meets the requirements for annexation under state code. The Mayor and Common Council notice of public hearing for the resolution was advertised on Monday, March 30th, 2026, and Monday, April 6th, 2026 in the Carroll County Times in conformance with state code. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Yes, please state your name and address for the record.
Well, first I would say that the state and the county have the right to speak first at this hearing. I'm going to assume that they're not here to speak.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is John McGuire. I'm the attorney for Sheetz Inc., which is the tenant and operator of the property. Pat Amy LLC is the owner and the landlord. And we more or less represented them in this under the lease. The understanding was that Sheetz would prosecute this proceeding, the site plan, and set up its business. So that's kind of where I fit. I'm going to assume that the record at this hearing is constituted by what's been placed on the website, what's been advertised. That is the record that we start with. In addition, for the record, I want to state that the petitions and materials that were filed by the petitioner in this proceeding are still correct and accurate as of the date hereof. The proposed annexation is consistent with the terms and conditions of the annexation agreement between the city and the landowner dated July 12, 2021 and recorded against the property in the land records of Carroll County in book 10375, page 154. I also want to acknowledge that the staff provided the statutory notice under local government article 4-406B1 involving assessment and fee information, and that was given by the staff and received by the petitioner. And the only other, I have no other comment for the record other than to introduce Gary Kilfeather. Gary's been the project manager on this project almost from the beginning. The staff has gotten to know Gary, and Gary's here. If you have any questions about the operations, Gary can answer those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Would anyone else like to make any public comment? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing at 7:10.
Madam Mayor. Back up. So now we'll move on to presentations. We have two presentations this evening. The first one is the mayoral proclamation, Municipal City Week, May 3rd through 9th, 2026. Madam Mayor. Oh, did I say clerk? What did I say?
City
Oh, sorry.
municipal clerk.
Municipal Clerk. Municipal Doug Week.
I would ask our phenomenal city clerk, Mr. Doug Barber, to please come up and join me. He'll probably bring me something to sign.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a mayoral proclamation. This is the 57th annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, which is held May 3rd through the 9th, 2026. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest profession among public servants. The office of the professional municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And the professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And professional municipal clerks continually strive to enhance professional development through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, county, and international professional organizations. And it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. And now, therefore, I, Dr. Mona Becker, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the Common Council, recognize the week of May 3rd, 2026 through May 9th, 2026 to be Professional Municipal Clerk Week in Westminster, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Douglas Barber, and to all the professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they present, adopted this 27th day of April. Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
No, ma'am.
Praises for a little bit more while you stand up here. We could not run the city the way we do without our professional municipal clerk.
Yes.
And he's still doing his job. An award. Nice job there, Doug Douglas.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we will move on to our second presentation this evening. It's a important presentation, and that would be the fiscal year budget presentation by our city administrator, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you, sir. We're going to start tonight. Go ahead to the next slide. As we always do with the origin of the budget, right? The budget's telling a story about how the mayor and council make their decisions, what's important to the city. And we start off with our vision statement, which I'm going to read. Westminster is a safe, healthy, and engaged community where new ideas and sustainable innovation enhance the community's quality of life and create economic opportunities for today's residents and for future generation. And you'll see, Mayor and Council, all of the items that are located in the budget all relate to that original vision statement. Then we move on to the strategic plan critical success factors. The Mayor and Council, sometimes annually, sometimes on a multiple year basis, outline the critical success factors that the budget and all of the items that the city does should go through. And they include the following: strong partnerships and engaged community, water and sewer capacity for future generations, economic activity and growth, responsible stewardship of city resources, and a safe and livable community. These are the factors that drive all of the budget decisions that we've made in this year's budget. and in most of the decisions that we make moving forward. Next slide. An opportunity to educate the public and remind everybody of the structure of our budget. We have 6 funds that we pull all of our various monies from in order to pay for all of the activities within the budget. And that includes the general fund, which is the city's core services and administrative functions, the public housing fund, which is the Public Housing Authority for Housing Choice Voucher Program. My favorite, the Capital Project Fund, which accounts for all of our capital improvement programs. We call those CIP, and we'll be referring to that later in the day, CIP activities. And then, of course, we have our enterprise funds, our water, sewer, and fiber funds. The water fund helps us pay for production, treatment, and distribution of all potable water, clean water. The sewer fund helps pay for the collection and delivery of sewage for treatment and disposal, very important. And our fiber fund, of course, pays for the construction and operation of the Westminster fiber network with our partners at Tank. Next slide. This is what everyone's most excited about, our fiscal year 27 property taxes. Of course, in Westminster and all of Maryland is on a 3-year assessment cycle. Westminster is in its 3rd year of the assessment cycle. So in January of 2026, there'll be new assessments for this area. The city's net assessable base increased by approximately $156 million, or 6.4% from the prior fiscal year. This increase is a result of higher assessments from the reassessment cycle, as well as new properties that we've added through the tax roll through annexations. Budget drivers. So there is no change in the real property tax. This is what everyone is most excited about. For the 14th year in a row, we're able to say, thanks to the mayor and council, that the fiscal year 27 real property tax rate is 56 cents per $100 of assessed value, which is the same that has been, again, for 14 years, the last 14 years. The water sewer rates will see small increases, 5.75% increase in the water rate, 5% increase in the sewer rates. And just as a reminder, one of the budget drivers is CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that has increased 2.4% from January 25 to January 26. Next slide. Mayor and Council, this is the outline of the revenues and expenditures by fund, which I'll just outline. The general fund is the expenditures are 21.7 million and the revenues are 23.8 million. I'm going to leave the rest of them up there for everyone to see. We'll discuss this slightly more in the budget ordinance later on today, unless anyone has any questions right now. Mr. President, you don't want me to read those out, do you?
No.
Okay. Next slide. The budget includes some fixed costs, and those are benefit and insurance costs. We can't really do anything about those, but we do have some good news to share in this particular arena. Our health insurance has a small increase of 3.4%, which we are very excited about because last year it increased 11.5%, and the year before it increased 13.6%. Those are funds that are really hard to find once you get into double-digit increases. So we are excited to see that that's only a 3.4% increase in this upcoming year. The pension contribution rate for non-sworn staff, otherwise known as civilian staff, increased from 13.28% to 13.52% of salaries, which is a 24% increase. The LEOPS contribution rate, which is the pension plan for the sworn officers or the law enforcement staff, has decreased from 39.64 to 39.56, or an 8% decrease. There's no change in the rates for vision or short-term disability. We're still waiting on the dental rates. There's a 5% increase on the long-term disability and a 10% increase on our base life, which is the first time we've had that in a while. So we were not entirely surprised by that. Our workers' comp renewal rate is 5.8% less than it was last year. And I just want to take a quick moment to talk about that. Those rates are entirely driven by decisions that we're making at the staff level, at the council level, in order to make sure our workers are operating in a safer manner. Examples of that are a few years ago, this council authorized mowers that were remote controlled so that we could mow some of the very steep banks, making sure that our employees are not injured in the process. We're starting to reap the benefits of some of those decisions that the council made at the capital level, and then some very specific decisions that the chief is making and Public Works Department is making as well. We're realizing those in a very exciting way with a 5.8% less increase in our premiums for workers' comp. So just want to take a moment to thank all of the staff for all their hard work on that. And then our general insurance rates are still pending, but we've budgeted for a 13.3 increase over fiscal year 26 actual costs. And that's based on an estimate that we have from the carrier. Next slide. The CIP budget, we're excited for, these are just a few of the many projects we have in the CIP, including Wakefield Valley Trail upgrades. That construction should start in this upcoming fiscal year. Rock Park equipment and a brand new restroom building at Rock Park, so we'll no longer need the portable restroom we have out there that's at Tehoka Farm. Of course, we're excited to hopefully be able to purchase and install bocce ball courts this year at City Park. We've got some much needed family fitness center building improvements as well as new equipment, which we purchase every year. Hopefully, we're finally going to get the HVAC upgrades completed at my buildings. This says 40 City Hall. Both buildings, actually, City Hall and City Administration Building at 45 West. We've got pavement management as we always do, as well as infiltration and inflow. There's a project we call I&I, very important in the sewer department to make sure that the stormwater doesn't infiltrate the sewer plants. We'll have ongoing projects at the sewer plant, the Enhanced Neutral Removal Project, which I'm very hopeful will close up in this next fiscal year. Not promising, but hopeful. And finally, and most excitingly, we've got the Pure Water Westminster, our water reuse facility, which is still under construction and will be completed by February of 2027, which is this upcoming budget year. Next slide. We'll take a quick moment to thank the staff. Ms. Rogers has put in an unbelievable number of hours on the budget, and the Finance Committee as well, who's had several meetings, some very thoughtful discussion. We are partners in this budget process, and we really appreciate that. Mr. President, that concludes the report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Inhofe. I'll open it up for questions in a minute, but I did want to make one quick comment, just for clarity for public consumption, for those here, for those watching. This by no means is our only touch in terms of this budget prior to it coming before us. This is just the introduction, which we'll do officially in a little bit, but we'll have multiple meetings with the entire body, and we take a very deep dive into the budget. Finance Committee's already spent a lot of time to do this here. The entire body will spend a lot more time going through it, figuring out what is appropriate, what may or may not be appropriate, and then we'll bring back a final budget for approval. So I just want to make sure everyone's crystal clear that this is just a very high level overview for public consumption, and we'll be spending a lot more time with this over the next month. So to that, I open up for any other questions about the presentation at this point. Go ahead.
No questions. I just want to make a couple of comments if I could, as Chair of the Finance Committee. First, to give my thanks to Ms. Impulse and Ms. Rogers and Krista Gardner, who's on off staff assistance or financial planning, and the rest of the team. Terrific job once again in putting together this budget. Working with the Finance Committee. It's not every municipality that's able to not only avoid a property tax increase for 14 years in a row with rising costs and doing as much as we're doing, but also, and I think this is an important point, continuing to only ask moderate increases in water and sewer rates. We see surrounding municipalities, other jurisdictions seeking significantly larger increases in water and sewer. And it's because I think we've looked ahead on these issues for years now, and we've taken actions, understood the consequences of the actions we were taking to make sure that we don't have those kind of major upsets, and wild swings in what we have to ask of the citizens of Westminster. And that's really critical. Another important thing that we've done, and I'm really proud of the entire team, my colleagues on the council, as well as the staff. I think there's probably no community in Maryland, and I don't want to brag beyond that, but certainly no community in Maryland that has made a better use of the IIJA funds. These were funds that we received in the wake of the pandemic from the federal government. Westminster received a significant amount, $18 million roughly, over, I think. And as soon as that money was announced, we began planning. We got together and we said, we're not going to waste this opportunity. This is an incredible opportunity to fund a lot of important things we need to get done in Westminster. We're not going to waste it. We're not going to spend it on frivolous things. We're going to be very serious and very thoughtful about how we're spending this money. And we're going to make sure that every dollar we spend of that money, we're able to use that to leverage city money to do even more. And we began that process. Ms. Imhoff has executed it in a tremendously skillful manner, along with support from the finance team and the public works team and everybody else. And I couldn't be prouder of how we've done this. I think because of that, we've been able to bring the citizens of Westminster so much more in terms of public works projects and other things than other communities have been able to do with some. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
I think you're being slightly modest only in that you were probably the loudest champion when we realized how much money we were going to get in terms of insisting that we plan well ahead and handle it right. And we watched other municipalities, other counties fritter away a lot of that money. And frankly, they wasted some of it and had to give it back. And I think because of your guidance in particular early on, that went a long way to helping us be where we're at with the town in terms of how we utilize those funds. Anyone else?
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Hall.
The only other thing I will mention is, I since I've been on this council for the past 5 years, I really think we have done a tremendous job of working with our federal, state, county partners to help bring additional funds for some of our capital needs in the city. And I really compliment everybody's effort up here with that, but especially with staff's effort, especially with working with some of the federal stuff, we have done really well regarding that. And it allows us to accomplish a lot of great things for the city. So besides the ARPA money, I just want to highlight that too, because I think we've done a tremendous job over the past 5 years that I've been here.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on, we will now move on to a appointment by the mayor. Mayor Becker.
Right, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to bring forward Dr. Robert Black to be considered to fill the vacant seat on the City of Westminster's Planning and Zoning Commission. I forwarded Dr. Black's application and resume to everyone on the council, and I'm sure you've had time to consider his appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was real glad you sent that along because you really didn't know the guy until we saw him.
Jog your memory there.
Yeah, exactly. So may I have a motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Dr. Wack to the Planning and Zoning Commission?
Mr. President, I will make a motion to approve said appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Huff, and I believe Mr. Bayard had the second. I'll open it up for any discussion prior to the vote. Any discussion?
Just one comment. I don't think that the mayor could have picked a better person to step into this role. Dr. Wack's knowledgeable from serving on this council, but from also being an activist citizen in the community. So I know that he'll represent the folks well. So great choice.
Thank you, Mr. Bayard. Anyone else?
I agree.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the mayor's appointment of Dr. Wack to the Planning and Zoning Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Please note for the record that I voted in the affirmative as well. Doug, on that? Any opposed? The ayes have it, and congratulations, Madam Mayor. Dr. Wack is appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we will move on. I don't believe our McDaniel rep is here. Okay, we will move on to approval of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve for this meeting. We have minutes from the Mayor and Common Council work session meeting held on April 20th, 2026. Special Mayor and Common Council meeting minutes of April 20th, 2026. And the Mayor and Common Council closed meeting minutes of April 20th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Pecoraro. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bayer. Is there any discussion regarding the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. We'll now move on to the consent calendar. We have 3 items on the consent calendar this evening. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve. the
Thank you,
consent.
Mr. Puff. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pecoraro. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the consent calendar is approved. We'll now move on to the report from the mayor. Madam Mayor.
Right, thank you, Mr. President. On Wednesday, April 15th, myself, along with members of the council, attended the annual Westminster Police Department Award Ceremony at the new event center at Wakefield Valley. The ceremony is always a memorable experience, witnessing the dedication, integrity, and the courage of the officers honored. The Westminster Police Department is truly something special. The professionalism, compassion, and commitment shown by its members reflect not only their duty to protect, but their genuine care for the people that they serve. It is evident that this department goes above and beyond, building trust and making Westminster a stronger, safer place. Thank you, Chief. I've been busy in the community for the last 2 weeks. On Sunday, April 19th, a new Patriot Trail marker was unveiled at the historic Westminster Cemetery. This plaque honors Henry Neff, Caleb Stansbury, and William Winchester, 3 Revolutionary War patriots buried in the Westminster Cemetery. The marker is one of 187 installed along the Patriots Trail and the very first to be placed in Maryland. The plaque was provided by the William Pomeroy Foundation and made possible through the efforts of the Westminster chapter of the Maryland Society Sons of American Revolution. As you enter the cemetery from North Church Street, proceed along the drive, and the Patriot marker is just a few hundred feet in along the right-hand side. Last Sunday evening, I attended a reception for 11 high school guidance counselors that McDaniel College invited to Westminster for a 3-day event. This event was geared to showcase not only the college, but also the city as a wonderful place for new students to come to learn and hopefully stay in the area. Along with Councilmember Hoff, we had a really nice evening of chatting and learning about the schools the guidance counselors were visiting from and telling them how wonderful the city of Westminster is. I want to thank everyone who came out to Exploration Commons at the Westminster Public Library for the mayor's community meeting last Thursday regarding the update to Westminster's historic district. There were about 40 individuals in attendance, and I believe by the end of the evening, all the questions were answered if residents had concerns. There were also residents at the meeting who are interested in contributing stories and information, and I look forward to a future update on the progress of the project. While I was out of town during the wine stroll, I wanted to congratulate the staff for making the decision to move the start time of the wine stroll up a few hours to accommodate the inclement weather that was moving into Westminster in the afternoon. I heard it was chilly during the stroll, but I gathered from the pictures that it was still well attended and everyone had a good time. Given the circumstances with uncertain weather in April, I think that the best decision was made to shift the start time of the stroll. And I hope that we are out of the stroll weather window for the rest of the year. So I hope so. I also wanted to take a minute to congratulate the town of Sykesville as one of the 3 winners of the Great American Main Street Award for 2026. The award was presented to Sykesville for their preservation-based revitalization in their historic downtown. And that just finally, later this evening, Ms. Imholz gave a quick presentation on the budget, but later this evening, we will introduce the fiscal year 27 budget. The process of putting a budget together isn't glamorous, it's tedious and takes a lot of attention to detail, but it's the most important legislative task an organization does. And I look forward to sharing the budget with you and some more information later in the meeting. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And now we'll move on to reports to committee and right back at you. Arts Council.
There is no report from the Arts Council tonight.
Thank you very much. Economic and Community Development, Mr. Huff.
No report tonight, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. Finance Committee, Mr. Pecoraro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think on behalf of the finance committee, we'll be spending a good bit of time in the budget tonight and in future nights, so that's all I have on that.
Thank you, Mr. Pecoraro. Personnel, Mr. Baird.
That's me, Mr. President.
Oh, sorry, I apologize, Mr. Pecoraro. That's you. I apologize.
So nothing.
Thank you very much. I do have a report for public safety. On April 15th, the Westminster Police Department's Strategic Enforcement Unit and K-9 Unit assisted Carroll County Sheriff's Office with a traffic stop on the 1800 block of Baltimore Boulevard. As a result of the stop, officers recovered 14 grams of crack cocaine and approximately 37 grams of fentanyl. It's no small amount. This incident highlights the strong collaboration between our agencies and our continued focus on proactive enforcement efforts to remove these dangerous narcotics from our community. On April 22nd, the Westminster Police Department patrol units responded to a report of retail theft at Dick's Sporting Good on North Center Street. Officers quickly located the suspect's vehicle as it was leaving the area and were able to take the individual into custody. During the investigation, officers recovered $1,000 in stolen merchandise and determined the vehicle had been reported stolen out of Baltimore County. Lastly, I'd like to compliment the Westminster Police Department on their response on the events of April 19th, where we had a tragic occurrence in what appears to be potentially a murder-suicide. Call came in at 8:27 a.m. and our first unit arrived on scene at 8:29, 2 minutes later. Unfortunately, the tragedy had already occurred, but had it been an evolving crime, that kind of response time can, and in many circumstances, makes the difference between life and death. While we were all very saddened by this event, it does point out what an amazing job our police department does and how your tax dollars are well spent when it comes to what I believe is our most important job as elected officials, and that is public safety. In our mission statement that Ms. Imholz read earlier, the first word is safe. And I think our police department does a wonderful job helping us meet that mission. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
And that's my public safety report. We'll move on to recreation and parks. I have no report for that this evening. Technology will not have a report unless you do, Mr. Baird, as the vice chair. I'm not saying you don't. And intergovernmental, Mr. Huff.
I just want to take a moment to thank our friends in Annapolis and our local delegation for their help related to receiving some additional funding for our fiber project, as well for our water reuse project through the MDP. So I just want to, again, thank our friends in Annapolis for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. Now we'll move on to council comments and discussion. Mr. Pecoraro.
Nothing except that I did attend the wine stroll on Saturday, and despite the fact that 10:30 is a little earlier than you did a good glass of wine, I thought, the move was a terrific idea. The weather held off. I managed to get my grass cut before I went over there. I was so pleased when I got there. See so many people thronging Main Street, having a good time, visiting Westminster businesses on Main Street, as well as all the vendors that we had out on the street. So good call. Ms. Gruber's not here, I know, but good call to Ms. Gruber, Ms. Imholz, and everybody else involved in that decision. I'm pleased we were able to hold it and have it be so successful. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Pecoraro. Mr. Huff.
I was just going to note the same thing with the wine stroll. Very impressed with staff thinking ahead with kind of changing things based on the weather. And I think all things considered, the event went very, very well. And the timing, as far as when it started to rain, was just about perfect. So I really just commend staff thinking ahead and kind of recalibrating at the last minute to make the best of a not so great situation from a weather standpoint. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Mayor.
Yes, I had the opportunity last week to attend an Arbor Day tree planting. It was conducted by the ground staff down in the playground. And what really made it nice, there was a group of kids from the Boys and Girls Club that actually did the planting, and they just had a great time doing it. Had a lot of fun. And to really highlight trees in the city, this is the 36th year in a row that Westminster's a tree city. And that's probably in the state gonna be near the top, I'm sure. So that was a good event. The other thing is, just a quick note, is that our Public Works Committee, we now have a regular meeting schedule set up, and we're all good to go with the mayor and Mr. Huff, so we're good.
Thank you very much. I have a couple quick things. Number one, I'm gonna go back to the city clerk week that's upcoming next week. And just make a quick comment. You know, we have probably the preeminent clerk in the state of Maryland, and as our city clerk. It's my understanding is that quite a few other municipal clerks actually seek Doug's guidance out on a very consistent basis for the municipal halls. It's not uncommon that folks will come to him and ask him how to do their job. And we're fortunate enough to have the guru right here. And I'm really fortunate because, as you all have witnessed on almost a semi-monthly basis, I'll foul something or quite a few things up from time to time. And Doug keeps me on the straight and narrow, so I'm very grateful for that. I did want to follow up with a comment that the mayor made. She held a meeting of the Historic District Group, or whatever that was called officially. And it was really well done. My wife and I attended it. I thought it was very informative, a lot of good information. Mayor Becker, you did a nice job. And although Councilman Huff was not officially part of the event, I will say he did a really nice job adding some color. As a matter of fact, I think a number of people came to that meeting thinking it was going to be about potentially forcing them into something. And Councilman Huff assuaged some of those concerns. And actually, as soon as he did that, some other people actually left the meeting. So Dan, I want to compliment you as well. Your contributions during that meeting, while not planned, were pretty good.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So we'll now move on to ordinance and resolutions with 4 of them this evening. So we've got a busy evening. So Ramsey, I hope you took a glass of drink before we get started on this.
Deep breath at least.
We'll start off with adoption of resolution 2604. Mr. Whitworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first resolution for your consideration is the adoption of resolution 2604, annexation 72. This is the annexation plan for certain property containing plus or minus 2.9443 acres, contiguous and adjoining to the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of real property located at 10 Sullivan Road, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, also identified as tax account number 07-048408, map 0039, grid 0013, parcel 0752, and comprising of plus or minus 1.4983 acres and plus or minus 1.446 acres of right-of-way, containing a portion of College View Boulevard, Maryland Route 140, Maryland Route 97, belonging to the Maryland Department of Transportation, State Highway Administration, which property is the subject of a petition for annexation submitted by the owners of a portion of the subject property to the mayor and common council of Westminster.
Mr. Depot.
Thank you. Pursuant to the annotated code of Maryland, in addition to, but not as part of, an annexation resolution, the legislative body of the municipality shall adopt an annexation plan for the area to be annexed. The annexation plan was included with the introduction of annexation resolution 2603 for annexation number 72 at the Mayor and Common Council February 9th, 2026 meeting. The annexation plan was sent to the Maryland Department of Planning in Carroll County pursuant to the annotated code of Maryland, along with annexation 2603. And the annexation plan was included in both the Planning and Zoning Commission's public hearing on April 16th, 2026, and the Mayor and Common Council's public hearing held earlier tonight for annexation resolution 2603 for annexation 72. With that, the Department of Community Planning and Development recommend that the Mayor and Common Council adopt Annexation Plan Resolution 2604, approving the annexation plan for Annexation 72, Padame LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. May I have a motion for the adoption of resolution 2604?
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayard. Is there any discussion related to the adoption of resolution 2604?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Huff.
I just want to make a comment because I think sometimes people don't realize how long this process can take. I remember being pulled into a meeting with the developer because they were processing through the county. They were having some issues related to getting on the agenda for the Carroll County Planning and Zoning Commission, which I used to be a member of, for a special report regarding traffic, the traffic study, I believe, and road improvements. That was 3.5 years ago. So I just think for the benefit of the general public, it's important to know there is a lot that goes into these projects, and a lot of review and a lot of effort that is undertaken when someone goes to build something on property. And just having been on council for 5 years, I'm starting to see some of these things that I was involved in early on finally get to the finish line. And I think it's just important to kind of have that understanding of how much work often goes into these type of projects. So that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. Anyone else? Hearing no more discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption of resolution 2604, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and 2604 is adopted. Now we'll move on to adoption of resolution 2603. Mr. Whitworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is adoption of resolution number 2603, annexation 72, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property containing plus or minus 2.9443 acres, contiguous and adjoining to the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of real property located at 10 Sullivan Road, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, also identified as tax account number 07-048408, map 0039, grid 0013, parcel 0752, and comprising of plus or minus 1.4983 acres and plus or minus 1.446 acres of right-of-way containing a portion of College View Boulevard, Maryland Route 140, Maryland Route 97, belonging to the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Whitworth. Director Depot, do you have anything?
I have no additional information from the earlier public hearing. And with that, Department of Community Plan and Development recommend that the Mayor and Common Council adopt Annexation Resolution 2603, approving Annexation 72.
Thank you very much, Mr. Depot. Let's go ahead and get it on the floor. May I have a motion for the adoption of resolution number 2603?
So moved, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Bayard. Is there any discussion related to the adoption of this resolution? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption of resolution 2603, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. We'll now move on to adoption of ordinance number 2602. Mr. Whitworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first ordinance for your consideration is the adoption of ordinance number 202602, an ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster, Maryland, amending the adopted budget for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026, fiscal year 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Whitworth. Director Rogers.
Thank you and good evening. Well, on April 13th of 2026, the staff introduced ordinance number 2026-02 to amend the fiscal year 2026 budget appropriations. Included in the council's packet is a detailed listing of the recommended new appropriations, as well as the use of prior year appropriations from the capital fund balance that are included in ordinance number 2026-02. Since the introduction of this ordinance, there have been no changes made to the recommended appropriations included in ordinance number 2026-02. Staff recommends the mayor and common council adopt the budget appropriations as detailed in ordinance number 2026-02. Please let me know if I can answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. Let's go ahead and get it on the floor. May I have a motion to, for the adoption of ordinance number 2026-02?
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Pecoraro. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huff. Is there any discussion related to 2026-02?
President,
Yes, Mr. Pecoraro.
just to remind my colleagues that, of course, these are the compilation of a series of actions we took during the course of the year from the beginning, from when we enacted, the current fiscal year's budget originally. Since that time, as we know, little things have happened along the way. We've had to spend a little more money here. We've had to, start another project there. And, all along the way, as we've been doing that, we've always asked, where's the money come from? Ms. Imhoff and Ms. Rogers have always identified what they expected the funds source to be. This is a compilation of all that going up into a budget amendment so that our budget itself will reflect all the things that all the changes we made during the course of the year in terms of additional spending. So none of these are things that are new to us. They're just things that we're wrapping up into one document.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Pecoraro. Anyone else? Hearing no more discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption of resolution 2026-02, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. We'll move on to introduction of ordinance 2026-03. Mr. Whitworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the introduction of ordinance 2026-03, an ordinance of the mayor and common council of Westminster, Maryland, approving and adopting a budget for the city of Westminster for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027, known as fiscal year 27, and establishing the various city tax rates for fiscal year 27.
Thank you, Mr. Whitworth. Director Rogers, do you have anything else?
Thank you, yes, sir. On behalf of the city administrator and myself, I am pleased to present a proposed fiscal 27 operating budget and capital improvement plan for the city of Westminster. The city's annual budget determines the manner in which services will be delivered to the community during the coming year, and its adoption is the most important legislative action that the Common Council takes each year. As Ms. Imhoff noted in her presentation, several factors had a significant impact on the development of this proposed budget. First, for the 14th year in a row, property tax rates stay the same at 0.56 per $100 of assessed valuation, and it's being held constant. In fiscal 27, water rates will increase 5.75% and sewer rates will increase by 5% over fiscal 26 rates. The CPI, or Consumer Price Index, is the U.S. economy's primary inflation indicator, and as Ms. Imhoff noted, that increased 2.4% from January 25 to 26. Accordingly, the fiscal 27 budget reflects increases in cost for goods such as supplies, equipment, fuel, and also various services such as utilities, insurance coverage, and contractual services. Across all of the city's funds, the fiscal 27 proposed operating budget totals $42.9 million, and the fiscal 27 proposed capital budget totals $26.4 million. The fiscal 27 budget was designed to advance the objectives of the city's strategic plan. The plan's priority initiatives are framed within critical success factors, which were highlighted in Ms. Imhoff's presentation. These critical success factors embody the mayor and common council's long-term vision for the city of Westminster. A few of the initiatives included in the fiscal 27 budget and the associated critical success factors to which they pertain include the following: strong partnerships and an engaged community. One item is the Information Technology Department is reviewing the city's website to make recommendations for overhauling it. Under water and sewer capacity for fewer generations, funding is included to continue construction of the water reuse project, which has an anticipated completion date of February 27. Under economic growth, activity and growth, the capital fund includes funding for the continuation of the holiday lights on Main Street from John Street, Bond Street to Center Street. Under responsible stewardship of city resources, the city received an award of state funding to cover the fiber debt service in fiscal 27. This is the third year for that. A safe and livable community. The city has been awarded federal and state funding for trail improvements and linkages at Wakefield Valley Park. Trail construction is funded in fiscal 27. And under safe and livable community policing remains a priority, and the general fund supports those activities. The preparation of the annual budget is a significant undertaking, spanning many months of work. It is by design that every member of the city's management team, as well as numerous other staff members, contribute to the planning and development of that budget, because their efforts are critical to successful implementation of the adopted budget. On behalf of Ms. Imholz and myself, I extend my deepest gratitude to the staff that contributed to the development of the budget. Director of Human Resources, Ms. Sharice Brown, Director of Housing Services, Mr. Eric Brown, Director of Recreation Parks, Ms. Abby Gruber, Director of Planning and Community Development, Mr. Mark Depot, Director of Technology Services, Mr. Rick Moore, Chief of Police, Chief Christopher Price, the Water Department Superintendent, Mr. Greg Howe, the Streets Department Superintendent, Mr. Steve Strasburg, the Utilities Department Superintendent, Mr. Corey Stauffer, and the Sewer Department Superintendent, Mr. Vance Summerhill. Executive Assistant to the City Administrator, Ms. Erica Kirkner, City Clerk, Mr. Doug Barber, and Ms. Krista Gardner, CPA, from SEK CPAs and Advisors. Please note, this is just a partial list of the contributing staff, and we're equally grateful to the many additional staff members that contributed to and participated in the development of the fiscal 27 budget. We also wish to extend our gratitude to Mayor Becker and the Finance Committee, which includes council members Greg Pecoraro and Dan Hoff. They devoted considerable time reviewing the proposed budget, providing guidance and direction, as well as ensuring the budget aligns with the city's strategic plan. On behalf of the city staff, we look forward to working with the mayor and common council over the next few weeks to finalize a budget for fiscal year 27 that enhances the quality of life in the Westminster community and continues to advance the objectives of the city's strategic plan. Staff recommend the mayor and common council introduce ordinance number 2026-03 for approving and adopting a budget for the city of Westminster for fiscal year beginning July 1, 26 and ending June 30, 2027, and establishing various city tax rates for fiscal 27. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. Let's go ahead and get it on the floor. May I have a motion for the introduction of ordinance number 2026-03?
So moved, Mr. President.
Fitting. Thank you, Mr. Pecoraro. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Bayard. Is there any discussion related to 2026-03?
That's good.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
I won't belabor points of my colleagues from earlier in the meeting, but I do want to mention that I'm incredibly proud and thankful. And I want to take a minute to acknowledge the hard work of our city administrator, Ms. Sarah Imholz, our phenomenal finance director, Ms. Teresa Rogers, as well as our outsourced CFO, Krista Gardner of SEK. I'd also like to thank the department heads for taking the time to carefully consider what their departments need for the following years. Ms. Rogers said this is just like the events we do on Main Street, this is an all hands on board event, but the most important thing that we do. I'm incredibly proud to say that we continue to demonstrate phenomenal fiscal responsibility to the residents of Westminster by presenting this budget through fiscal year 27. And I'm looking forward to the discussion with my colleagues over the next several weeks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any other discussion? I'll make one comment. Ms. Rogers, obviously you do a wonderful job and we're very grateful to have you aboard. But I have to say that was one of the most well-prepared statements relative to a piece of an ordinance or resolution that we're handling that I've heard in quite a while. That was well done and it was thoughtful, insightful, and I know you spent some time working on that. I want you to know how much I appreciated that. It was really, really great. I loved how you named all the folks also within the staff that, you know, played a big role in that. And maybe you've done that in the past and I just don't remember, but I was pretty impressed with that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes, Mr. Bay.
I just wanted to say that, you know, when you think of a budget, you only think of numbers. But if you pick up the budget book and you look at it and read it, you can really understand everything that's happening in the city. It's the way the number part of the budget and the rest of the budget is linked together makes it very understandable for a guy like me that's only been on the council for 2 weeks. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else? Okay, hearing no more discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of introduction of ordinance number 2026-03, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the ordinance is introduced. We'll move on to unfinished business. I have no unfinished business that I'm aware of. Is there any unfinished business I'm not aware of? Okay, now we'll move on to new business. I believe we have one item of new business. Mr. Pecoraro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the common council adjourn into a closed meeting Monday, April 27th, 2026, at the conclusion of the regular meeting in accordance with the general provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, section 3-305B1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. The other personal matter affects one or more specific individuals.
Thank you, Mr. Pecoraro. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bayard. Any discussion related to this item? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of going into a closed session at the conclusion of this meeting, of which we will not return to open session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and we will move into a closed session after the conclusion of this meeting. We'll now move on to departmental reports. Ms. Inholz.
Thank you, sir. I want to take a moment first to thank the council for your adoption of the budget amendment tonight. As Councilmember Pecoraro mentioned, these are all items that have come before you. You could have easily told us to wait until the next budget cycle. In some cases, we couldn't, but by not waiting, it made sure that we are delivering services in an efficient and responsible way to the public. And I just want to thank you for that ongoing support. If we didn't have your support, we would have to stop on those projects. So thank you again. It means a lot to all of us. The second thing, Council President, you mentioned, rightfully so, our incredible city clerk. I just wanted to add on to that, in addition to being called on by his colleagues, he is the official elections guru in the state of Maryland. He trains all of the new clerks on the elections. No one holds an election without reaching out to Doug first, and many times in the middle of the process as well. And of course, as I mentioned before, in the last election cycle, Mr. Barr did not take a single day off during the entire election cycle, just in case someone needed him during that time period. Now, we won't be doing that moving forward, but he is dedicated and non-dedicated, and he is recognized in the state of Maryland. So thank you so much for recognizing him tonight as well. All right, we're missing a few department heads, so let me give their reports for you. For recreation, I want to thank everyone for their efforts on the wine stroll. In particular, I want to thank those who had to pivot. So the Main Street businesses, the wine stroll vendors, and the public in general. We always thank the staff. We should. They put on an enormous task. They get to work at 4 a.m. in order to put these things on. But it's a big pivot for the Main Street businesses, some of whom don't even open till 11, to pivot to a 10:30 stroll. And the wine stroll vendors, wine is more expensive than some of the other vendors that come in later in the year. And so the wine stroll vendors pivoting to be able to continue to offer an opportunity for them to sell their wares, to sell their wines. And then the public, of course, who showed up in drones. The police chief is going to talk a little bit more about that. I just want to take a moment to thank the public for their willingness to pivot and to help make this event happen in the first place. Okay, I have some exciting news from the Public Works Department. We have installed another solar crosswalk at Carroll Street and Madison Street. We have a few more of these in the budget. We're going to try to install 2 a year moving forward. These are the solar crosswalks that you see going across Main Street at the library. They're very exciting. I think they're easier to see people when they're crossing the street. People seem to be using them, which lights it up for at least a block. Those are the mid-cross block crosswalks, mid-block crosswalks, because otherwise you could just cross with the light at the intersection. So we're excited about that. Are there any questions for the Recreation Department or the Public Works Department? Hearing none, we will move on to the Human Resources Department. Ms. Brown.
Good evening. I don't have one for tonight. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for Human Resources? Hearing none, we'll move on to IT. Mr. Moore.
Also do have a report, but if there are questions up here.
Hearing none, we will move on to planning. I'm sure we're gonna have a report from Mr. Depot.
Yes, on May fifth, the Board of Zoning Appeals is scheduled to review a modification to the previously approved special exception for an automobile service station at 1023 Baltimore Boulevard. And this is the site of the original sheets, not the one we talked about tonight, the first one. They're proposing new EV charging stations, and that's a special exception. That is a change requiring a modification before the Board of Zoning Appeals. And that completes my report.
Are there any questions for the planning director? Moving on, we will go over to the finance department, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Thank you again for the approval of the budget amendment for fiscal 26. Echo your sentiments on that. The only other thing I really want to report on tonight is that while we're busy finishing up the budget, as we've talked about quite a bit this evening, the finance department is getting ready to wrap up our fiscal year end very soon. Our auditor has reached out about setting dates for the preliminary budget. So we're quite busy and still working on the system upgrade. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Not to mention AP, AR, and payroll.
All those important.
All those important things. I will say that the fiscal year 27 budget is slated for adoption on May 11th. We'll open up that meeting on May 11th with the public hearing on the budget if anyone wants to weigh in. Are there any other questions for Ms. Rogers? Hearing none, we move on to the police department. Chief Price.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Obviously, it's been touched on the wine stroll by several people. I saw several out there. I just wanted to say that, I was impressed with the flexibility and how closely we are working with Recreations and Park. It was out of an abundance of caution that, for both the attendees and our staff that we adjusted the times. We were very concerned about the weather coming in. But the conversations were very thoughtful, and I thought we came up with the best plan. And some of the other safety improvements that we've put out there with the barriers and things of that nature. It was absolutely, my opinion, the right decision from a public safety standpoint, and it worked out great. The event was well attended, even with the time changes, even with the anticipated weather. We estimate that we had about 7,000 in attendance. Which is great. I mean, from 10:30 on, it was pretty packed. So, and on that note, there weren't any reported issues. We didn't have any issues. Everybody seemed to enjoy themselves. I thought the officers were out there. They were having fun engaging with the public, and it's just a really good event. And anytime you have the Reagan years, it's probably gonna be a good event. So, I just think it reflects the strong interdepartmental collaboration that we have going on. So it was, I was highly pleased. So thank you. That's all.
Those are killer decisions to make when we're looking at moving the stroll. Should we cancel it? Should we keep it as is? Are we gonna have tents flying around? Are animals and kids gonna get hurt? Killer decisions that are poured over for days and days and days. And of course, the weather people change their mind every other hour, and so does the weather for that matter. So we stress about it for 48 straight hours until we make that absolute last call decision, and we just appreciate your ongoing support when we make these calls. Are there any questions for the chief?
No question for the chief, but when I was stationed at Fort Bliss in El Paso, we had an air show there, and it was about 250,000 people attended it every year. We never, ever had to make those decisions. Same weather all the time. It was so easy. Yeah.
Not Maryland.
Not Maryland.
We can't find water to save our lives unless
Unless it's a
there's
stroll.
and there's a guarantee that we'll find all the water known to man.
Especially in April.
Mr. President, that concludes the departmental report.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Then we move on to our final item on the agenda, which is citizens' comments, during which we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues related to tonight's agenda or other city matters. For those not attending this public meeting, we welcome your comments via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All email comments will be shared with the mayor and council. Please include your address and phone number with the comments. We will now invite the comments from those present this evening. This is an opportunity for the public to share their thoughts with the mayor and council. Our role at this point is to listen to your comments and respond appropriately after consulting with staff and each other. Is there anyone here this evening that wishes to be heard? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Yes, sir.
Richard Krebs, 8 Ridge Road. To all of you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Appreciate that. Thank you. That's probably the best comment we've been on. Thank you, sir. That concludes our agenda and the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, May 11th, 2026. And with that, and without objection, we are adjourned.